Good morning, everyone. Welcome to week 2 of Math Online. Today we are going to be working in our math books. So if you want to go ahead and get out your math book, we are going to be working on page 845. All right, once you have that out, you're going to see that 845 is working on measuring triangles. So if you have a ruler, I need you to pause the video now, run and get your ruler, and come back. If you don't have a ruler, I'm going to walk you through step by step on how to make your own ruler for this lesson. Okay, so to make our own ruler for this lesson, you're going to need a square or rectangular piece of paper, a pen or a pencil, and page 849, which is your homework. So go ahead and turn your book to 849. All right, once you have out your homework on page 849, you're going to take your rectangular piece of paper and your pencil. You're going to take the corner of your rectangular piece and you're going to line it up with the first example on your homework so that the corner of your rectangle is lined up with the corner of your triangle. Once you have those two lined up, you're going to make a small mark where your triangle ends, and then you're going to move that mark down so that it matches up with the same corner that you just had it lined up with. And then this time you're going to make a bigger line, not all the way across your paper, but just a little bit bigger. Then you're going to do that 2 more times. I'm actually going to do it 1 more time just in case. And this next one's going to be just a little mark. Once you're done, your rectangular shape should look like this. You should have 4 little marks and 3 big marks. Now we are going to label our inches on our ruler. So this first big mark is going to be our 1 inch. The second one is going to be our 2 inch. And our third one's going to be our 3 inch. You can label them just like that. And then we have those little small marks. And you might be wondering what the small marks are for. The small marks are going to represent our 1/2 an inch. So I'm going to go ahead and label those. So this is what your ruler is going to look like once you're done. In the book, it wants us to label to the nearest 1/4 inch. So whenever I think of quarters, I think of dollars. 4 quarters make up $1. So whenever we're measuring, 4/4 are going to make up an inch. All right, I want everyone to look at their rulers really fast. If you have a ruler, it's going to look a little bit different than the one that we just made. If you're using this one, hopefully it looks very similar to mine. But I want you to look. We have space in between 0 and our 1/2 an inch. So if we would be right in the middle, that would be 1/4 of an inch. So we would label that 1/4, like a fraction, 1/4 of an inch. We have our 1/2. If we're in between 1/2 but not quite to a whole inch, we're going to call that 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what that would look like. So here's my new ruler. I now have 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 an inch, 3/4 of an inch, and then a whole inch. So depending on where the end of your triangle falls, that's going to be what fraction you put with your triangle. So if we're just past 1 inch and we're over here, it's going to be 1 1/4. We have 1 1/2, 1 3/4, 2 inches, 2 1/4, 2 1/2, 2 3/4, 3, 3 1/4, 3 1/2. Here's one of the triangles that I'm going to go through as an example with you guys. This triangle is not one that is in your book. It's one that I just cut out on my own. So these are not going to be answers that are going to be in your slides. But whenever we're using our ruler, we always want to make sure that we line up the 0 with the end of our shape. So we don't want any of the extra hanging off. We want to make sure that it's our 0. So this is my 0. On your guys' ruler, if you made one, the edge of your paper is going to be your 0. So make sure that the edge of your paper is lined up with the edge of your shape. So here's my triangle. I've lined up the 0 on my ruler with the corner of my triangle. And then I've taken my ruler straight across. And as you can see, the end of my triangle hits right at the 6-inch point. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 inches. So underneath this long side, I'm going to label 6 inches. Then I'm going to move on and I'm going to measure up and down on my triangle. All right, I have made sure that my 0 is lined up with the top of my triangle, and then I've brought my ruler straight down. If you look very closely, the edge of my triangle is past the 6.5 mark and almost to the 7. So I would have 6, 6 1/4, 6.5, 6 3/4 inches, because I'm not quite to 7, but I am definitely longer than 6.5. So I'm going to label this 6 3/4. Okay, so I have my bottom piece and I have my side piece. Now I am going to measure my slant. Here is the measurement for my slant. I made sure that my 0 is lined up on top, and as my ruler comes down, I notice that the tip of my triangle hits right at 9 inches. So I'm going to label my slant 9 inches. So here's my triangle with the final labels on it. I have 6 inches for the bottom, 6 3/4 for the side, and 9 inches for the slant. After you measure your triangle sides, on some questions they're going to ask, do all of your sides measure the same length? Do none of your sides measure the same length? Or do exactly 2 of your sides measure the same length? So for our triangle, we would have no sides measure the same length, or no sides are the same. So you're going to have 2 options for today's lesson. Your first option is you can work through the slides, and I'm also going to post a video, probably over here, that's going to show you how to manipulate your ruler on your slides. Your second choice is that you can do the problems in your book. That's probably going to be easiest if you have a ruler. That way you're not measuring on your screen. And then you can come back and you can add the answers into your slides. I do need your slides turned in by the end of today. So make sure that after you've gone through and answered all your questions and you've done your Google form, that you go up to the top right corner and you click Turn In. Bye guys, see you tomorrow.